He showed me things that haven't happened yet. The most awful things.
Journey with me into the past one last time.
When a good story has the slightest hint of possible time travel, we all love to speculate and theorize about it. Now it's our turn. So get ready for yet another messy, tricky, tangled, intricate, and exciting new way to time travel in the world of pop culture. Courtesy of Netflix's smash hit series Stranger Things, a theory that could end up with your head spinning or totally upside down. This time, here, in Demo Kittens, we present you our theory, and we will call it Time Synchronization, or Tomorrow Memories. Be careful, this video contains spoilers. Season 4 opens with a confusing, horrific scene from the past at Hawkins' laboratory. A scene from 1979 that leaves us wondering if Eleven would have done bad, creepy, and terrible things when she was a child. In later chapters, we learn that it is something inside Eleven's mind. Dr. Brenner tells her it's a hidden traumatic memory, but later we can't be so sure if it is a memory or a vision of her future. In Season 2, we saw Will having now memories. Eleven could be having something like tomorrow memories. Glimpses of a vision that she doesn't quite understand, a vision that almost seems not to be hers. Something from her childhood so terrifying that, according to Dr. Brenner, through a natural defense mechanism, her mind blocked it out, hid it, and threw it away. Or at least that's what he thought. Something begins to cause an increase in the intensity and frequency of her visions, and a greater impact on Eleven each time she sees them. Something that is turning inside her into a doubt, a terrible doubt, a question in her mind about her own nature, about who she really is. Am I a monster? 3 seasons and 7 years later, it's California in 1986.
Today is day 185. Feels more like 10 years.
Starting a new life will never be easy. In a new town, among strangers, as a teenager, in a long-distance relationship with a foolishly insecure boyfriend. Sorry, Mike. You were in high school and surrounded by more teenagers. We believe you, Eleven. That sometimes it must feel more like 10 years. When things get overwhelming, all you have to do is have a bad day, and everything turns into a living nightmare. That world could easily seem like a scarier realm than the Upside Down with its own kind of monsters. Bullies. Bullies are the cause of Eleven's sudden increase in her visions. But why? Putting aside for a moment her supernatural experiences, all of Brenner's abuse, and her traumatic experiences that are not of this realm. In this world, Eleven has experienced very similar traumatic events twice in her life with people her age, who were supposed to be her equals, her social peers. One of them apparently happened when she was a child, and the other one when she was a teenager.
I hope Mr. Fibley's okay.
We have to start with the high school one. When in 1986, Eleven becomes the target of bullies once again. The high school bullies, Angela and her entourage, start picking on Eleven, who is only minding her own business. Bullies being bullies, they begin to cross lines. Eleven has never been a pushover kind of person, but she is still learning how to interact in this new normal world and how to defend herself against its own monsters. She wants to learn this badly. She is learning to communicate, to negotiate, to disengage from unnecessary conflicts, so as not to resort to violence again. But she keeps failing. Weeks of tension and misjudgment between Angela, her friends, and Eleven build up, then reaching and crossing the tipping point, first at Eleven's public act of humiliation, and then her also public retaliation against Angela, the incident at Rinkomania. These acts of bullying against her, but especially the instinctive act of her reaction against Angela, triggered the visions and the fear again. It also seems to cause an almost identical incident of retaliation to resurface in Eleven's mind when she may have been bullied before. There are no visions of that. She thinks she's seeing another disproportionate reaction of hers, one that ended in a horrible tragedy. She is worried sick just at the thought of, for whatever reason, her having ended the lives of other children. All she seems to see are brief scattered glimpses of gone children, something she doesn't seem to know anything about, and it begins to scare her more and more, much more than all the Upside Down monsters combined, more than the worst monsters in this world, more than high school bullies or any kind of bullies. She is frightened by the idea that she could be, have been, or become a monster with the same evil and cruelty as the monsters that she and her friends have been victims of in this and other worlds. We are later shown the other related event that occurred in 1979 when she was 8 years old. 11 was bullied by the other children who were also part of a secret psychic espionage program conducted at the Hawkins laboratory. An incident of bullying induced by a lab orderly in a premeditated, calculated and manipulative manner. He fuels the conflict. He turns off the cameras. He manipulates and tricks all the kids involved, including 11, especially 11, as part of his grand escape plan. An escape from the lab and Dr. Brenner's control over him via a tracking chip he has implanted in the back of his neck. He convinces 11 that the real mastermind is Papa and tells her that he plans to kill her. We all know that Dr. Brenner wants 11 alive, whom he does not see as just another human being but as a personal feat, what he considers her masterpiece, nor would he ever lose sight of her. The orderly was the one who set everything up. He turns out to be the real mastermind behind the whole act of bullying against 11.
There's a reason why 2 and the others were able to escape their room last night. Why the security cameras were turned off.
And then it gets worse. For the last 7 years and after all her great supernatural adventures, and now without her powers, 11 had never had those terrifying visions. We later learn that in 1979, and after waking up from a coma, 11 doesn't remember at least 5 full days of her training in the Hawkins lab, or anything that happened during those days, and apparently no one thought it important to tell her what had happened, to remind her of everything. Or maybe, they thought the opposite, that the most important thing was not to say anything at all. In any case, 11 will be convinced that her mysterious visions are coming from one of those lost days. Oh, lost memories, if only there was a way to get them back. Fast forward to 1986, 7 years after what happened at Hawkins Laboratory, somewhere in the desert, and with the help of Dr. Sam Owens, Nina's cutting-edge technology is ready to help 11 find her lost memories through a complex and clever mechanism, which consists of making 11 artificially relive, in and with her mind, all the same experiences that she lived through those lost 5 days in September of 1979. This, they said, would also help her regain her powers.
Hello, 11.
Of course, it's Dr. Brenner, who reveals himself as part of the same plan. 11 might have forgotten, but not Dr. Brenner. He will never let her go. Nina is a machine that can theoretically make 11 relive all of her experiences captured by the laboratory and stored in all sorts of data, like the audio and video from those days in the lab, and then somehow nest them all into a simulation, a metaverse of sorts, a fully multi-sensory virtual environment from the past, and populated by what they seem to be projections of real people, with their own identity, memories, personality, conscience, which is then plugged into 11's mind, projecting her consciousness into this artificial environment of the past. 11 must find her way out by following her own steps in that past, focusing on the environment, listening, remembering, as directed by Dr. Brenner.
Focus. Listen. Remember. You'll have to find your own way out. Leave your train station. Focus. Listen. Remember.
Training starts any minute now.
Okay.
Hey, there's nothing to be nervous about. Just know it.
Good morning, children. Good morning, Papa. How are we feeling today? Good.
Doing, again, exactly the same things she did 7 years before, in order to synchronize Nina's stored memories with those of her actual mind, and fill in the gaps in her memory. If 11 deviates in her actions from those stored within Nina, the experience automatically reboots, or is entirely interrupted. Also, in theory, what makes Nina assess the outcome and decide whether to let the sequence continue projecting 11's consciousness into her artificial environment, or to interrupt or restart the current experience, is that everything 11 does or pretends to do inside the machine matches what 11 did 7 years earlier. The parameter that controls, maintains or restarts the sequences is the data stored on the tapes, not the other way around. Not the actions that 11 performs mentally in real time and that are also being monitored by Nina, comparing them, detecting matches or deviations, or so they thought, because the process seems to work both ways. And soon this will allow 11 to override the control parameter in the machine by connecting her mind to her past self through a more powerful and a very different channel. Time. The Nina project begins. 11 is inside a massive sensory deprivation tank, but this time she is connected to her past self in 1979. Soon, we in 11 are shown that the horrible visions from her childhood in the lab that have been haunting her lately are there. They're close, with an important answer waiting to be discovered, and mixed in with all those missing memories. 11 will be convinced that she will be responsible for the bodies lying on the floor of the Rainbow Room. She still does not remember, just like her past self doesn't remember the training, the lessons, the practices, the competition. She doesn't even remember the other kids or what happened to them. She does not remember a lab orderly who confessed to her that he was also another subject in the same program that she is part of, that he is number 001. She does not remember the tragic afternoon inside the laboratory, nor her fatal fight against him, nor her mother whom she thought wasn't alive anymore in 1979, nor another dark dimension, nor any kind of portal. She doesn't remember anything from September 4th to 8th, 1979. The 5 most important days of her life up to that moment were taken away from her, certainly one of them being one of the most important days of her entire life. For the first time in the entire series, we now know that back then, 11 wasn't just one of the youngest subjects on Dr. Brenner's program. She was also one of the least powerful ones during the experiments. We see her struggling to perform the most basic psychic training exercises. She can only complete one of them successfully, and that's because of one's manipulative encouragement as part of a larger plan. The orderly who confesses her to be subject number 1 was also Henry Creel in what feels like a different life from a distant time, a time when Henry as a child discovered his powers, understood them, or most likely misunderstood them, practiced with them, mastered them, and then pushed them to his limits by willingly cursing his family first, and then ending their lives. Dark. We know, 20 years later, he now must be an evil psychic master, who is artificially tamed and controlled by Dr. Brenner, a temporarily tamed monster waiting and now plotting his escape. 20 years of sadness, anger, delusions, and inhibited powers waiting to break free, for revenge and destruction. Nothing, no one, could ever stop him if he ever managed to escape his artificial taming, the chip implanted inside his neck, that it's not only a tracking device, but a device that inhibits his psychic powers. A device that Papa calls Soteria. One tricks 11 one more time into removing the chip from his neck and setting him free. He then proceeds to take on every other orderly, doctor, and nurse in the building, every security guard, and every psychic kid in the program with both overwhelming evil and overwhelming ease. Dr. Brenner is knocked out. Only little 11 remains. What could be expected from the weakest girl on the program? His plan for her is to join him or die. If she doesn't join him, it would be the easiest kill of them all. After hearing the screaming and then discovering that she is already going through the horrific moments of her visions, 11 rushes to help, but it is too late. She suddenly enters the source of her fears, the Rainbow Room. She didn't hurt those children, but there is no time to think about visions. She is still in shock, and now she is locked up with the real monster, who asks her to join him. She knows that she'll be next if she says no, but he then says that she is better than they are, than her now gone bullies. Those words really touched and moved something inside her, because she also seems to remember her current bullies from high school. And even if she is better than them, than any bully, it's like some truth hits her as she looks at the bodies lying on the floor. She already knew that no one deserves to endure any abuse or bullying from anyone, but now she also knows that no one deserves that kind of cruelty, ever. Not even him, even if she's better than him, even if he tries to kill her. She will defend herself as always, but she will never be cruel. She will never be a monster. Now that she knows she didn't hurt those kids, now that she knows the truth, she knows her answer to her most feared question. She has always known, am I a monster? And this is not her making her mind. That decision was made many years ago. This is only when she finally names it.
Join me.
We all know that one won't take a no for an answer, but now 11, having the certainty about her visions and the answer to her doubts, after easily rejecting one's temptations in his offer, she also knows that, for her to stand a chance against him, she has to attack first. At that moment she stops acting like the little girl from the tapes, and becomes the 11 we used to know. She lands the first blow much to one's surprise. After a thrilling psychic showdown, one seems to still have the advantage over 11. For her, The technique that one taught her about amplifying her powers through sad and angry memories is not working. He will always win in the arena of sadness and anger. Overpowered, immobilized, and in the last seconds of her life, something almost miraculous happens. The 11 of the past has a recent memory of an unknown woman that one told her she was her mother. She won't believe any single thing from him. He won't trick her again. But for the actual 11, that same memory was given by that same very woman in person. A woman that the actual 11 knows and also remembers very, very well. It's Mama, her mother. It is as if between both 11s not only were their memories and minds finally synchronized, but also by both remembering their mother. The same memory, but with a different time stamp, and it's something neither Nina nor anyone else is aware of. Both memories become one truthful memory. Both minds from different times merge for an instant. Their memory and minds get updated, synchronized. Now that they both know that it is true, that that woman is their mother, now they are able to remember, for the first time ever, at the exact very same point in times. Yes, times. The moment when they were born. It is not a memory, is a living experience. Both 11s, thanks to a time link, are watching, living, they are there, from different points in time with their mom, the same person who also has psychic powers, in real time. Through a portal across time, they are not remembering her face. They can't. They're seeing her face, feeling her touch. They're hearing her voice. The three of them start tearing the fabric of space-time continuum. We know, it's confusing. This new experience creates a new memory, her most powerful memory of them all. Way far from a sad and angry memory, which is the nature of one's memories and through which he channels his powers. But the nature of 11's new memory is very different, and way more powerful. Something is deeply meaningful as this seems to happen inside both 11s at the same time. They seem to make a decision together and for the first time in their lives, by recognizing and choosing the truth, the light, but also the pain from her mother, over the darkness, the lies, and the manipulation from Brenner. The evil and anger from one. That's the moment when she chooses not to become a monster. At the moment of her birth, their birth. 1979, 11 would have died along with the rest of the program subjects that very day if not for the intervention of 1986, 11, who from the moment one reveals himself and she knows the truth, the new discovered memory will soon become a state of mind. 11 completely takes over the body and mind of her younger self. From this point she no longer acts. She no longer tries to follow in her footsteps from the past. She no longer tries to remember. She has already remembered. Her past self rescued her. Now it is her turn to repay her favor. The mind of her past merges with her current mind. This causes Nina to detect a perfect match, to massively succeed, to the point where now Nina does not know which one is the real 11 and the simulated one. It doesn't really matter anymore. 11's actual mind ends up overriding the machine. She takes over. Now, she's in charge. Now the connection between 11's actual mind with her past self ends with a constant back and forth in time that helped 1986 11 to know the truth and understand. Now she will help herself with her actions and decisions in 1979, saving her life in the world. Again, for the first time, we know. Still confusing, 11 also remembers and uses the memories that her mom will not show her until 1984. She uses her new psychic lab training that hasn't started yet. She uses her own future training, the one she will get from her sister Kali. The experience of defeating monsters not only from this world but also mighty supernatural monsters. The ones she had defeated in 1983, 1984, and now in both 1979 and 1986. Simultaneously, all of this exists only within her 1986 memory in 1979. Things that are yet to happen in reality. After that moment she completely regains her powers. She's stronger than ever. Now she has the power to resist. And to her eyes one becomes the next Demogorgon line, a monster that must be stopped and destroyed, and is one who must share the same fate as the Demogorgon. That of being destroyed, but also banished from this world. She does all of this even and despite the fact that the Demogorgon hasn't actually happened yet. She remembers destroying it in her future and does the exact same thing to stop and defeat one. She seems to disintegrate him in this world, but at the same time his mind escapes through an unknown gate to a different world. He thinks that he has been sent to purgatory. That is the level of advantage that 11 had at that moment, because to her, she saw something she is familiar with. Through a strange portal she has seen many times before, a portal to a different realm that in 1979 she still doesn't know it exists, but she remembers it. She's been there before. A realm that even has a name in her mind already. A realm that she and her friends will call the Upside Down. The gate closes. All of this happens while young Eleven in 1979 is just a spectator. She didn't lose those memories because she never had them in the first place. Her future self took over. Now, 1979 Eleven's body is exhausted to the point of collapse. In 1986 Eleven's mind is also drained to the point of collapse. The little girl falls into a coma in 1979 while the actual Eleven goes into cardiac arrest while still inside the Nina tank. After receiving help from the medical staff, she wakes up back in 1986 with the truth. Her memories recovered, her powers restored. Back in 1979, Eleven wakes up with nothing but her life. She doesn't remember anything. How could she? Her mind simply was not there that afternoon on that September day in 1979. For her, for years from now, she will have to figure out how to face and defeat a monster that she herself will find following Brenner's orders and that they will call the Demogorgon. She will not have the advantage of tomorrow memories. The memories of those 5 days got trapped in a time loop as 1979 Eleven fell into a coma, and her future mind flashes back to 1986. They both pushed themselves to their limits, almost dying in the process. Little Eleven won't remember anything because she has never defeated one yet. She hasn't opened any portal yet, but soon, she will. The time loop has been closed, with Eleven recovering her memories, regaining her powers, and learning the most valuable lesson. One even has a new name in 1986, Vecna. But one thing still remains lost somewhere: the very nature of a different dimension, an evil dimension where time does not seem to exist. A dimension of chaos, mysteries, darkness, and with gateways to our world, a link to our reality, its portals to our realm, its creatures, its own destiny, a destiny inevitably intertwined with ours, with the fate of our own world. But now Eleven has been given a glimpse to the past, present, and future, of reality, a glimpse of truth, of everything. Both Elevens became one. She became whole. She's been given the secret of not only a memory, but a state of mind that will make her fly if she needs to.
Says she's special, born with abilities.
What kind of abilities?
Telepathy,